Good morning, everyone. I'm Reverend Linda Susan Ulrich, and my pronouns are they, them, and I proudly serve this congregation as the minister. So welcome to everyone. We have started a new practice in our services where it's called Living Our Values Every Day, where someone from the Social Justice Council speaks for a couple minutes about what's going on in the world of taking our values into the world. And so today I would like to welcome Margaret Ariori speaking about the food bank.
Hi, I'm Margaret. I'm a longtime member here, and for more than 10 years I've been a member of the Food Bank Action Team. And what the Food Bank Action Team does is deliver the donations you guys give us and we bring to the Hamden Food Bank at Keefe Center every single month. We collect your donations at the drive-thrus every month and also on the shelves to the left of the coat room. We are very grateful for them. We try to fulfill your intentions to ease the physical and fiscal stress felt by our neighbors, especially in southern Hamden. The Keefe staff knows us very well, and they're very impressed by the UU generosity. They really perk up when they get your stuff. And they know how to respect their clients. They treat them in a dignified way. They provide a healthy shopping experience for them. When you donate grocery cards, they put them in the grocery bags of clients they know are in particular need, and they also share them with school social workers who find families who are food insecure. This little effort is a very small poke in the eye of the systemic injustices that pervade our country. We should not need food banks. We should not need homeless shelters. We have to keep asking ourselves the larger question: why on earth can't we afford a just society in this wealthy country? Thank you.
There was a lovely band that I was a big fan of called Rebecca Riots, and they always mentioned that tuning is actually a sign of respect for the audience because it assumes that you will be able to tell the difference. So, or as they put it, we tune because we care.
Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Society of New Haven. My name is Charlie Healy and I'm a member of the worship committee. My pronouns are he, him, and they, them. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are in life's journey, you are welcome here. We are a diverse, multi-generational faith community that inspires lives of compassion and generosity, nourishes spiritual growth, cultivates transformative connections, and creates a more just world. This is a congregation that believes that Black lives matter, that every person has the right to affirm their own gender identity and expression, and that all people have inherent worth and dignity. Let us acknowledge today that we gather on the ancestral lands of the Quinnipiac people and other indigenous peoples. Let us commit ourselves to the action it takes to heal the wounds of the past and the present, and the ongoing work of reconciliation, love, and justice. If you are joining us for the first time, we are so glad that you chose to spend time with us this morning, and we invite you to connect with the membership team on the first Sunday of the month, which is this Sunday, for our visitor chat. After a quick cup of coffee or tea outside, we invite you to join us in the library at 11:30. I also want to remind everyone that next Sunday at 3 p.m., USNH will install the Reverend Linda Susan as the 6th settled minister of this congregation. We hope that you'll join in the celebration, whether in person or via the live stream. The Reverend Dr. Sophia Betancourt, the Associate Dean for Academic Affairs at Drew Theological School, will preach. And if that weren't already enticing enough, I am told there will be cupcakes too. The Covenantal Relations Committee invites you to join them this morning from 11:45 to 12:45 for a community listening circle. The community sharing circles create intentional opportunities to share and listen in a deeper, more heartfelt way, build relationships, and develop a vibrant community. All are welcome to join us for our reflection on the call to the 8th principle. I am told here weather outside, weather permitting, inside the social hall if needed. Thank you.
Cupcakes, people. So the call to worship today comes from Andrew Kennedy. We come to love a church, the traditions, the history, and especially the people associated with it. And through these people, young and old, known and unknown, we reach out, both backward into history and forward into the future, to link together the generations in this imperfect but blessed community of memory and hope.
The chalice is a symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. As the days grow shorter, may its light keep us company amidst the stillness of autumn and the nurturing darkness that falls all around us. As the very trees bear witness to the changing of the world, may the light of this chalice inspire our unchanging labor for justice, love, inclusivity, and the creation of a beloved community. I invite you now to join us for our congregational covenant. Covenant lies at the center of how Unitarian Universalists gather in community. We are united not by a particular set of beliefs, but by the promises we make about how we will be together how we will treat each other, and how we will seek to mend relationships when we fall short of our aspirations. While the following words express our intentions in writing, our true covenant lives and breathes in our actions. Please join me now in reciting the words that appear in your order of service or in the chat on the live stream. We covenant together to create and nurture a culture of mutual and kindness, and to engage in the spiritual and everyday practice of loving more generously. To this end, we will strive to be open, value differences, listen deeply, use kind language, speak our truths, work with conflict, seek humor and joy.
Good morning. For now, to help ensure the safety of our community, we ask that you refrain from singing along with the hymn, but we invite you to listen, meditate on the words, and contemplate the music as you wish. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be whole. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be whole. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be whole. May all be filled with loving kindness. May all be well. May all be filled with loving kindness. May all be well. May all be peaceful and at ease. May all be whole.
I'm not a historian, but I am told that among the great scriptures and tablets and documents that have been written through the ages and that have survived into the modern era there is a document that would translate into our language as follows. A parent and their child are at the doorway of their home, and the parent turns to the child and says, "How art thou?" And the child replies, "Meh." "How didst thou do in thy education this day?" "Meh." "What didst thou do?" "Nothing." In that spirit, I take us to a place that could be many places, to a time that could be many times. In a house, there is Grandfather William and his son, Cassius, and Cassius's son, Tony. They are, like so many families these days, a family that primarily relates to the world, kind of like this. Should I order something for dinner? I don't know. Well, Tony is sitting there and he is playing on his phone and a song starts to play.
The call cannot be completed as dialed. Please check the number and dial again.
And Cassius says, "I know that song. That's Gangsta's Paradise by Coolio." And Tony says, "No, that's Curtain Falls by Blue." And Grandpa William says, "You're both wrong. That is Pastime Paradise by Mr. Stevie Wonder." And each of them quietly recedes into their decade. An uncomfortable silence continues through that night, through the next day, until Tony comes home after work one day and says, "I stopped by the thrift store and I found the coolest thing. It is so retro. You're never going to believe this. I found this awesome shirt." And Cassius looks at Tony and goes, "You're never going to believe this, but I brought that to that thrift store last week." And Grandpa William says, "You gave my dashiki to the thrift store?" And Tony says, "Well, I just thought it was this really cool shirt. I mean, you know, I thought I could wear it to school, like, I don't know, for Halloween or something." And Grandpa William says, "You know, that shirt has a lot of stories in it. Not sure if you knew this, but in 1963, I wore that very shirt to the March on Washington. And I was wearing that shirt when I heard that I Have a Dream speech." And Cassius says, "I never heard that story. You never told that to me." "Well, I don't know. It just didn't seem like something you would want to know." "Of course I would want to know that. And Dad," says Cassius, "you might be surprised to learn that that's actually the shirt that I was wearing when I went to protest the Gulf War in 1991 in Washington. I probably stood in the same place you did, wearing that same shirt." And Tony looked at both of them and said, "I'm not so sure that I see that as a costume anymore. I think I'm going to go upstairs and iron it and fold it, add it to my favorite shirts, and maybe I'll wear it the next time I have something important to contribute to the world around me." And suddenly those decades didn't seem quite so far apart. If there are any other children here, I invite you now to come with me to your classes.
I now invite you to listen deeply to the whisperings of your heart, holding your experiences of the last week and the joys and sorrows of this congregation close. Today, we especially hold in our love Sylvia Lipnick's brother, Kent Healy of Martha's Vineyard, who died last Sunday, October 31st, after a short illness. Please keep Sylvia in your thoughts and prayers. We also hold Karen Swanson in our hearts, whose son Connor died from a drug overdose last night. Together we know that we are not alone, and together we know that our burdens are made lighter to bear. Together we know that our joy is not meant to be a crumb, it grows when it is shared. May it be so, and blessed be.
Sometimes there are no words for a sorrow or a joy. Sometimes all we can do is sit in the silence together and send out that loving kindness. Send it to ourselves, to each other, and to the wider world. Let us hold silence together for a few minutes for all that is wordless within us and among us and beyond us. Returning gently from the silence, may our hearts indeed be filled with loving kindness for all beings. Amen.
We are grateful to come together in community to be strengthened in our work of love and service. And when we are gathered together, we know that this work is not ours to do alone. I invite you now in a spirit of generosity to make a contribution to our common life and labor. While we will not pass offering plates this Sunday, we need your support more than ever. The ministries of this congregation support the work of justice in our city and our world. When you get home, you can contribute on our website at usnh.org, or you can mail a contribution to our physical address at 700 Hartford Turnpike, Hamden, Connecticut, 06517. There will also be offering plates near the exits where you can place a contribution at the end of the service. Please be as generous as you are able. USNH depends on the ongoing generosity of our members and friends to meet the financial goals expressed by the congregation in the annual budget. To support USNH is to engage in a unique partnership that allows us to meet our aspirations year after year. The offering will now be gratefully received. Generation to Generation by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. In a house which becomes a home, one hands down and another takes up. The heritage of mind and heart, laughter and tears, musings and deeds. Love, like a carefully loaded ship, crosses the gulf between generations. Therefore, we do not neglect the ceremonies of our passage when we wed, when we die, and when we are blessed with a child, when we depart and when we return, when we plant and when we harvest. Let us bring up our children. It is not the place of some official to hand them their heritage. If others impart to our children our knowledge and ideals, they will lose all of us that is wordless and full of wonder. Let us build memories in our children, lest they drag out joyless lives, lest they allow treasures to be lost because they have not been given the keys. We live not by things, but by the meanings of things. It is needful to transmit the passwords from generation to generation.
I grew up in a teeny tiny family. 2 parents, 2 older brothers, 2 aunts, one of whom lived way out in California with her husband, and me. Only one grandmother was still alive by the time I was born. She died when I was probably about 5, and half that time she lived in California with my aunt and uncle. I remember when the EMTs came to our house to take her body away, but I don't have a sense of her from when she was alive. And that's it. That's everyone. When people start to say to me, "Oh, I know some Ulrichs in Ohio," I was like, let me stop you right there. I can pretty much guarantee we are not related. And I've always felt that lack of an earlier generation acutely. I'm intensely jealous of people who were tight with their grandparents because I've never experienced that kind of relationship. And those who have the privilege of knowing great-grandparents, it's kind of unfathomable to me. But what exactly is it that I've missed? I mean, of course, there's the unfettered delight that grandparents and grandkids can take in each other's company without the daily tensions that come up between parents and children. And my Nana probably felt that towards me, but I don't have any memory of it. Even more, though, than the potential sweetness of any particular relationships, my lack of connection with that previous generation has left me feeling unmoored. Without the living history of my grandparents' generation, I had access to a limited number of family stories, and those were subject to the perspectives and interpretations of my parents and brothers. If they'd never asked the questions that interested me, or if their view was especially skewed, I had nowhere else to turn to learn about these people from whom I descend. For example, I was told that my grandfather didn't teach my mom Spanish because assimilation was the goal in those days. I wonder, though, did he speak Spanish with friends? How did he feel about being separated from his culture? Did living in New York City with so many other Spanish speakers help at all? And what about my paternal grandmother, who emigrated from Germany between the wars? What was it like for her to be living in the United States during World War II? She still had family in Germany and must have worried about them terribly, even as Hitler clearly needed to be defeated. And she was dealing with all of this while raising 2 children by herself after her husband's death in the early 1940s. When a generation above us dies out, the winds of mortality blow a little colder and more directly on our faces. At least that's how I felt when my parents died. I wonder what it would have been like to grow up with another buffering layer between me and the chilling air. I wonder what it would have been like to receive the heritage of mind and heart, laughter and tears, musings and deeds that Saint-Exupéry describes so eloquently. Instead, I lost all of my grandparents that is wordless and full of wonder. As we begin this month on the theme of holding history, I find myself pondering what history holds us and what cuts us adrift. My situation is far, far from the only one that might leave someone feeling unmoored. For children who are adopted and don't know anything about their birth family, I imagine it's far more acute. Or those descended from enslaved people forcibly removed from Africa. Generations of people were systemically cut off from their ancestors. Now, of course, we all hold personal histories that are made up of far more than our ancestry. We have friendships, achievements, traumas, laughter, disappointments, and so on. We may have dreams that guide our choices. We may be called to create art or abolish prisons. Perhaps we feel driven during certain times of our life and more contemplative at other times. Maybe we need to learn how to live within the limitations of our bodies. All of these experiences shape the lens through which we envision what's possible. Whether our individual stories feel adrift or grounded, we're also held by common historical events. Many people remember where they were when President Kennedy was assassinated, or when they heard about the collapse of the World Trade Center towers, or when President Obama was elected. These moments become embedded in our minds and hearts as markers along the path. What's important about those moments, though, is more than just the fact of them. It's the stories we pass along about them. Or as Saint-Exupéry put it, we live not by things, but by the meanings of things. For example, I've realized that there's a story about the attacks on 9/11 that gets lost amid all the atrocities that followed. There was a brief period there where most of the world was feeling deep compassion for the United States. It was palpable. There was unity on a global scale that I'd never witnessed before. In that moment, I felt the powerful potential for humanity to evolve. And I use that word deliberately. Not that it would have been easy or straightforward, but I truly believe that for a moment we experienced a sacred opening in which nations could have come together in a new way for the common good of all. Imagine where we would be on climate change today if that had happened instead of where we are. Unfortunately, the person occupying the White House had squandered all of that goodwill, and the moment passed. But I never want to forget what I sensed back then, because it pointed to a future that I now know is possible. And I know it because for a short time, the world that I dream about was real. What are the stories that you tell the people in your life? What living history do you carry that needs to be transmitted? What love, like a carefully loaded ship, do you send across the generations? Saint-Exupéry connects that love with the ceremonies that mark our passages through time. When we wed, when we die, and when we are blessed with a child, when we depart, and when we return, when we plant, and when we harvest. Certainly one of those significant ceremonies in the life of a Unitarian Universalist congregation is the installation of a settled minister, which we'll celebrate next Sunday. In our tradition, the power to call a minister lies solely with congregations, and you have called me. That's something that will get told and retold, helping this congregation feel rooted in its history. But then there's the meaning of the thing. In the way you govern ourselves, you don't need a special mediator between you and the divine, the source of your ultimate meaning, whatever name you choose to give that. Each of you has your own direct access. And implied in that practice, though, is a commensurate increase in responsibility for your own spiritual lives and the spiritual lives of the children in this community. We're called to build memories in our children, lest they drag out joyless lives, lest they allow treasures to be lost because they have not been given the keys. We do this by inhabiting our living tradition, living it every day, and sharing all that this faith has to offer and all the ways it needs to grow. We become the holders of history, the ones who hand down and those who take up. History need not be a prison. We can own our past without it owning us. The stories we pass along can be those of liberation and hope, if for no other reason than that we're still alive to tell the tale. Then that carefully loaded ship, filled with love, finds safe passage with the generations that follow, bound for shores beyond the horizon of our lifetime. Amen, and blessed be.
All are architects of fate, working in these walls of time, some with massive deeds and great, some with ornaments of rhyme. For the structure that we raise, time is with materials filled. Our todays and yesterdays are the blocks with which we build. Build today then strong and sure, with a firm and ample base, and ascending and secure shall tomorrow find its place.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Just a quick reminder that I know you all want to speak with each other and have fellowship, and if you could do that outside where it's a little safer, that will be good for the community as a whole. We care about you very much. Friends, we have stories to share, stories with power, with possibility, with lamentation, with joyous possibility. Let us not lose sight of how to transmit that knowledge, that wisdom, that experience, that hope, that joy. Let us go forth with courage and with kindness to be a blessing to the world and to tell stories that bless each other. Amen.